Kerry.
We've only done a topic like this once before, but it's time to do it again. It's time to bring back. You can have this one. Now the question is, Jeremy, you have the graphics ready. You're on the ball.
I do. I did briefly mute you for a sec as I bumped the button, but it was only for like less than a second.
Okay, I appreciate the slightest of speed bumps along the way.
Yeah.
So this week we're going to be talking about how to reintroduce, reboot, reinvigorate the Jak and Daxter franchise.
Yes, a franchise that we haven't seen since the PS2 days.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I almost said Jak and Daxter just then. Jak and Daxter is a very strange. Well, we spoke about this when PlayStation Plus came up, when the collection was introduced on PlayStation Plus, whenever that was, mid-year. And
not the collection, just the original games.
The classics collection.
Yeah,
is I think
not the HD collection they brought out later, because
no,
that's a different product and on the PS3 and not a part of any of those PS3 remakes. A part of Thingo, or is it only PS2 versions? Like what
is Thingo?
A part of the PlayStation Plus thing.
I don't know what's on their streaming service because we don't have access to their catalog.
Is Shadow of the Colossus the PS2 game on there?
Nope.
And not the PS3 game?
Yep. The PS4 one's there.
Yeah, but not the PS3 one.
I don't know. I don't know what's on the PS3 because we don't have access to the streaming service.
Okay.
But yeah, there's next to no PS2 games and there's next to no PS1 games. Man, I love that service.
Yeah.
Anyway, we spoke about how I played through basically all the Jak and Daxter games, well, except most of the first one. And gave my opinions on it back then over a course of a few weeks. And it's a very confused, strange franchise. It really doesn't know what it wants to be.
Yeah.
At any given moment.
Yeah, they had one like pretty good third person like platformer, like classic platformer. One that was maybe the design was too old when it came out. And then like two middling third-person shooters, like action.
Well, they're not third-person shooters in that regard because you can't aim the gun. They're platformer shooters.
Yeah, and then a racing game, and then two PSP spin-offs that like were exactly as you'd imagine PSP spin-offs.
I think it was only one PSP spin-off, and then Lost Legacy or whatever it was called. Lost Frontier was a PS2 game. It was just bad.
I don't think it was a PS2 game.
I guarantee you it was.
The Jak and Daxter, The Lost Frontier, PlayStation Portable and PS2. I think it was a PSP game first. Yeah,
I only ever noticed it on the PS2.
That says it all, doesn't it?
So it's a strange franchise. For the sake of argument, I think we're only really going to be referencing the first three mainline Naughty Dog games.
Yeah.
But even then, going forward, this is a franchise that was a part of a genre that was already tired when it came around. That sort of collectathon genre.
Yeah.
It only took one generation for it to fall to the wayside. Like, we got Banjo-Kazooie and we got Spyro and we got... that was kind of it at that point.
Spyro was... right, yeah. And then it came around a little bit as 3D 3D platformer collectathons have sort of come back into fashion in that like niche, right? In the people that serve the fans of the Banjo-Kazooies in the form of Yooka-Laylee and there's a handful of others as well. Like Hat in Time is kind of like
Hat in
one.
Time.
Yeah. I actually don't think either of those games are that good. But like, you know, the closest being since then is like the closest good one is like Mario Odyssey, right? Like those are the only ones that really continue it on.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good likeness.
And so like, how do you bring back the Jak and Daxter franchise if you can? how do you want to begin? So we've done. I've done a little bit of structuring of this segment to sort of see if we can sort of like make it a little bit more cohesive each time we do it. I might just I'll look. Usually I would start at number 1, but
I wouldn't.
I wouldn't either. I
think the first topic we should start with is number 5 on your list. What do you reckon?
What's the hook?
Yeah.
That's exactly where I was going to go. Go. Kerry,
you want to say it at the same time? No, that'll be awful.
Oh no, but what if it's the same? We don't know what each other's are. What if it's the same?
We could do that. The chances, even if we've got like the same idea, that we word them in the same way is like infinitesimally small.
All right, let's do it.
But,
ready? 3,
all right.
2, 1. It's a Ratchet and Clank crossover.
PlayStation Zelda. Oh. Yeah, that went about as well as I thought it might.
Yeah.
Well, you say a Ratchet and Clank clone.
Ratchet and Clank crossover.
Crossover.
Yeah, it's for the first time they're finally meeting.
Okay.
The golden child of platformers for this platform, and it's sort of like it's ugly stepbrother,
its awkward cousin.
Yeah. Finally meet, but can I tell you, in the PS2 era, the chances of these two coming together and being in the same game, while it probably wasn't high, was a thing that I wanted bad.
Really?
It seemed like a classic fit. They would play off of each other pretty well.
Personality-wise, yes.
Like gameplay-wise, they're similar-ish. Like silhouette-wise, they're quite similar. They both got a pretty similar vibe, right? Like they're both.
It definitely felt like they came out of the same playbook.
Yes.
And they were both created around the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. That immediately makes me want to ask you how yours plays, but I want to speak to my hook a little bit, which is
go for it.
Jak and Daxter could be PlayStation's Zelda, is what I've written here.
Now, what do you mean by Zelda?
See, that's the thing. I think it could either, like I said, the collectathon genre is pretty tired, and was tired when those games came around, and I think the best version of a game like that, which I think there would have to be some sort of mechanic, some sort of tie-in to root this franchise in its history in some degree. But I think there is room for you to do that in a modern setting by placing it in an open world game of some sort. And you could do that in a number of ways. I was streaming this weekend. I was playing some more Resident Evil 8. And I had a moment where I was like, is Ocarina of Time an open world game? Are all the 3D Zelda games, are they open world? And the answer is yes.
Astronaut with the gun, like on the moon, like always has been.
Yeah, yeah. Like it's funny, right? Because Ocarina of Time is like one of the first 3D open world games.
Yeah,
it's different to the open world systems that we know today, where like Cyberpunk or GTA or The Witcher or Horizon, where the world is very, very, very open and you could go anywhere and do anything. Zelda is those early Zeldas, Breath of the Wild, again, the sort of the prime example. Breath of the Wild is obviously open world. But these early games, they're so much more focused and linear, where it's almost a pseudo Metroidvania, right? Where, you can go to these different places, but you don't have the hook shot, so you can't open the door to this place, so you're just going to have to leave and come back.
Yeah.
And going through the game linearly and unlocking all of those upgrades then opens up the open world to you. But it is open world, hands down. And there isn't really a game like that in PlayStation's catalog where you've got that action adventure sort of going, like, because even Ratchet and Clank is sort of more about shooter than it is anything else. Are you going to say knack? I see you holding something in.
No.
What are you holding in?
Is Ocarina of Time open world?
Yeah, you see, Jeremy? You see how easy it is to start thinking about it?
Yeah.
It is open world, though. Because when you go, you can visit the Gerudo Valley, you can go to Hyrule Castle, you go to Death Mountain, go to Lake Hylia. It's an open world game. It just is.
I would like to table this conversation as perhaps something that we explore on a later episode.
That's a good idea.
We'll go with it for now, but I think there's longer than the amount of time that we have to talk about this that I want to talk about this for. So I agree. I might just throw that in a different document.
Yeah, write that down somewhere.
Yeah,
we'll circle back around
to
that another week.
Yeah. Continue. Sorry.
So point being, there's not really an entry like that for PlayStation. And I think it could do well to have their sort of more witty banter writing that you get in all of their third-person action games applied to a more traditional gameplay format in terms of a structured open-world action-adventure game like Okami, like Zelda.
Sure.
That can be lighthearted, that can be good fun. You have different companions that you get along with along the way or stuff like that. I think that would be the best use of Jak and Daxter. But I'll say how I envision these characters and using this old property when we get to like the story section. But
sure.
I'm not just taking Jak and Daxter 1 and I'm not just or only taking Jak 3. Like
sure.
I want to take sort of the best parts of all of the different games and turn it into one not homogeneous, but like single
cohesive
unit.
Yeah like
exactly.
And like I think for the most part while I said Ratchet and Clank crossover, like I don't also just want another collectathon, and I also definitely don't want the Grand Theft Auto Lite that they were going for as the series went on. I also do want like a middle ground, right? Like I understand, as much as it pains me to say, like Jak, I guess, needs his guns. And I don't think that's for the best, but I understand that that's what that franchise became. But I think he should feel a little bit more unique, right? Like I think that maybe not maybe guns with ammo, but maybe like he's harnessing his eco powers and channeling it through weapons, right? And then his different eco powers can be the different weapons, and there can be like 6 or 7 of them, and that's sort of like the hook, right? In the gameplay essence. In terms of like whether or not it's like an open world game, I think it needs to be. I agree. I think it needs to be quite open world. It needs to be open enough that you are exploring and going to new zones.
And discovering things.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I think that can work in a Ratchet and Clank crossover as well. I think that both of these two, in Ratchet and Clank, in the planets, every new planet you go to, for the most part, in all the mainline games, like you explore them, right? You see what's around that corner, what's through that cave, what's over that mountain. Like you go around and you see like what always feels like a big chunk of the world. You do a lot of traveling, or at least they make it feel like that. So I think that the Jak and Daxter Ratchet and Clank crossover still fits within your vision of what they are in terms of gameplay. Part of as a joke, I wrote down, to make it better, I said fix Jak's name, give him a C. Which I also
but then
I don't agree with that. That was just funny. What I actually said was make Daxter not annoying. I think that he's a bit too he talks to the camera too much. He acknowledges the audience a little bit too much for my liking, in a way that I think we can leave behind. We can come back to that never.
I want Daxter to be similar, like a similar energy.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, less annoying in some ways. What did I write here? Daxter is the same, but less sexist.
What? I haven't played that series in a long time. Is he sexist?
Yeah, I remember I brought up on the show how there were moments where like Kira bends over and like Jack and Daxter both are like just
Like,
like staring at
awooga.
her ass. But then she turns around and they're like, whoop.
Yeah, right. Great.
It's awful.
Yeah, really good. I also wrote here as a joke, make Jack a sad dad, to make it in line with the rest of the PlayStation properties.
Where it's the same Jack and Daxter from 20 years ago, and now they're just older.
He's got a beard, right? And like he's weary and he's tired.
Jeremy, Jack always had a beard. Well, from 2.
Yeah, right.
He's got a little goatee.
Yeah, but like, what if he had like a Kratos beard?
It's a pretty good beard.
So what I've got here in terms of one of the other topics that we have as part of this structuring is, who do you reckon should make it? And this is going to tie in a little bit with how does it play, because like I mentioned before, I want his eco powers to have a big focus. I want them to look really pretty. I want tons of really awesome effects. I want it to look bright and have awesome illumination and all this stuff, right? So I want look either give it to Insomniac because Insomniac
it's a pretty easy hit.
It's really easy to hit, and so I don't want to just leave it on that. Either that or we give it to Sucker Punch, specifically the team that made the Infamous games.
Yes, Jeremy, that's exactly what I wrote.
Yeah.
I only think there's one team at Sucker Punch.
Right. Okay. Well,
they're never really doing concurrent projects.
Sure, but I meant that style of studio, right? Whether it's a team that exists anymore or not.
I see what you mean. Okay, I see.
I think that would play off really well.
100%. I think their open worlds are some of the better ones that are coming out of Sony's first-party studios, but also with a lot of character and a lot of color and heart and design as part of their open world mechanics and visual design, both in the Infamous games and Ghost of Tsushima. I think Sucker Punch is, for me, they're the best choice for what I've envisioned for this game.
Yeah, I don't want them to do the...
I also wrote down Respawn to piss you off.
Respawn. Would it be a similar piss you off if I asked for Arcane to make it?
I mean, that wouldn't piss me off. It just
the Jack and Daxter immersive sim.
We have a very important contribution from the chat from Sam. Sam says, "Make them gay, please. I will play it if they're gay." Sam, you did see that Jack and Daxter are like human and Otzel, right?
I mean, Daxter wasn't initially.
There.
Daxter used to be a people. He used to be a human.
Yeah, Daxter was a person for 5 minutes in this franchise, literally until the end of the opening cutscene, and then it's over for him.
Maybe they were gay before then, and
they might have been.
They're still in love. Just a bit more difficult logistically. What's the story of yours, Kerry?
So the story of mine, like I sort of alluded to before, I want to see what you get if you jam all of the 3 Jack games into one cohesive unit.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than this like silent protagonist, cartoony world, but with like colorful characters that talk a lot and stretch and animate, and you've got the green area and you've got the blue area and you've got the dark eco area. Like, that's such a cartoony place. Then you compare it to like the dark smog of the open world city, and Jack becomes like this like skater bro who can speak now, and he's all hardcore, and like there's such a dissonance between all of the component parts until you get to 3, where it starts really bringing in like the natural world around the city, into the city, what happened with the old precursor tech, and it starts to mesh it all together a bit. I want to see Jack doesn't start out as silent, but he's not this like edgy bro either. He's maybe a bit of a smartass, bit of a ratchet kind of a character.
Yeah, so are we both agreement that we want Oh, right. Hang on a minute. Do you want Jack to talk?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
I don't want him to be silent. I don't just want Jack and Daxter 1,
I know.
but
I
new.
know. I know.
I want to synthesize the best parts of all of that.
Okay, but
and
like,
honestly,
likable
Jack
voice,
2 and
though.
3 were better because Jack spoke. Silent protagonist Jack is it's weird. It's just strange.
Like, it is weird and strange. I thought what was coming out of Jack's mouth was worse than him not talking for the entire game.
That's true.
But,
so I don't want Jack 2 or Jack 3 Jack. I just want a different Jack that talks.
Okay, I'm back on board.
Yeah. Daxter is similar. Like, Daxter's got a good energy and they kind of misuse him in some ways.
Yeah.
Like, he's got some good moments. He's quite slapstick and comedic in that regard. But then other times he's just actually a terrible person.
Yeah, right.
So make Daxter better but the same.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, what if these different areas, you've got the city, and you've got the desert, and you've got the village, what if they don't do any time travel and they all exist in the one spot, and it's about leaving the village and seeing what is outside the village, and actually there's this whole industrial city, and it's like culture shock for them, and someone disappears, and they turn up in the city, and they're thriving there, and then you get, like, beaten up by some group, taken into the desert and left there, find your way back to the city through the catacombs, through the precursor catacombs. Then you start understanding the precursor tech a bit more, mesh it all together, bring it all together into one unit. And that helps to make the world the sort of open, grand scale that it needs to be for a modern day open world adventure. That's what I want from that. And part of that is that I do still want Jack to have shooting, maybe an aim down sights, maybe more like a Ratchet third person shooter kind of a deal, as well as melee abilities. And I want it to be all focused around precursor tech. I want him to have precursor power bracelets or like energy blasts or like a power fist or something like that kind of flows around him and like forms around his fists or something like that. I want him to be able to harness precursor tech and keep the precursor mystery front and center through the mechanics and through the story, and have that inform everything there. So sort of you're juggling similar to what you end up doing in 3, where you're juggling the sort of modern day, present day rather, war between the different factions, as well as discovering what the precursors made all of these things for, and why the city was built on top of this area, and what that means, and can you discover it, and what happens when you go down there. That's where mine goes.
Okay. I'm honestly pretty down with a lot of that stuff. I enjoy the precursor tech element. I think
because it felt so like cheap in some ways. Well, in the way, sorry to jump in again, but just in like Jack 1, how there was all this stuff everywhere, all of these orbs, all of these power cells. But then it kind of didn't do that much. It was just like, oh, you collected enough power cells, we opened this boulder blocking the way. I was like, okay. And then by 2 and 3, it's the future, and you just have other eco technology, and they're like relics. They're so scarce that you hardly see them.
Yeah, I was like, like in my mind, like the natural progression was like, no one knows how to use it in the first one. People kind of know how to use it in the second. And the third one is you war over it, right? Like the universe is like, you know, whoever controls the precursors controls the world, right? Like, isn't that like a regular kind of like arms race type sort
kind
of thing?
It's more like there is a there's like a precursor tunnel under the city, and the factions are trying to get there first. But it turns out that's because there's like the precursors were like the light ones, and the precursors' enemies, the dark ones, are coming from space to like take over the planet. And so people want to get to the teleporter that'll take them to the dark ones asteroid because some people want to mesh with the dark ones, and some people want to. It gets really messy.
Yeah. Yes, that sounds messy. Yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah, I think I would want a little bit more. I think I wanted just like a little bit more like Final Fantasy in a way. Like I want like a cast.
Tell me.
Like I want like a cast of characters.
Okay.
I want like in terms of like story specifics, like I'm not really versed in really much aside from what the brief moments I've played in 2 and 3, as opposed to knowing the story of 1. What I've got here is, because I've got the crossover between Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter, I've got the Dimensionator or whatever from Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart throws him into the Jak and Daxter dimension. Nefarious is trying to meet up with a Baron Praxis, right? Mm-hmm. They're trying to work together to... The Zoni and the precursors come from the same, source or whatever, the same secret source, and in my story, Baron Praxis and Dr. Nefarious, they start to work together, but Praxis fucking hates Nefarious, hates him, and because Nefarious won't shut the fuck up, like similar to Rift Apart with the Super Nefarious or whatever he's called.
These Emperor Nefarious.
Yeah. But like, kind of similar kind of betrayal sort of thing, but like, you still fight both of them. And then like, they team up and all together, and it's all, it's not unlike Rift Apart in that regard.
Sure.
Mostly because this was a story that I had when I was a kid. Right, this was the story that I wanted when I was a child, and then they made it with Rift Apart.
They've kind of done it with their own IP.
Yeah,
they crossed their own Ratchet IPs.
Yeah, I can have that one.
Yeah. So I had that one.
Yeah, I had that one. So the final part we have is who's announcing this game at E3. Before we get there, do you have any other little things you want to throw in?
Just a couple of things. Just you were saying a cast of characters. That was sort of, I had in like a separate box here, but yes, that is one of the better parts of Jak and Daxter. The characters, the few that you do like when they like return in the next game. It's like, I thought you died at the end of this section. That was sad, and it's like you're back and you've got this secret history with this other clan and all of that. Like,
have Samos die, right? Have the Green Sage, do a giant burst of fucking eco magic or whatever to take out a giant gun, then he dies, and you gotta...
Yeah, and maybe that's like the fall of the village or something like that.
Yeah, have him... Give him like a Gandalf moment, right?
There's a lot... There's good stakes and tension in the third game. And yeah, but like having the cast of characters mean something and be there and have a good rapport and begrudging allies and all of that sort of classic character action stuff that's really come into its own in the last 10 to 15 years with Uncharted and Horizon and all of that. I want to see those dynamics play out in this world and with these characters. The other thing is we didn't say how long these were going to be. How long is yours going to be, Jeremy?
Like Rift Apart,
a classic
length.
Ratchet kind of length?
Yeah, like you wouldn't want it any longer than that. I don't want to spend open world game hours in this thing. Maybe even a little bit shorter than a Ratchet and Clank. Maybe give me a solid 7. Like 10? I was gonna say 8, 7.
You want to romp.
Yeah,
you just want to
No,
blast through and you're done.
No fat, just like beat for beat. Give me some side stuff, but mostly some funny side characters and some collectibles. I don't need skill trees. I don't need 40 weapons to upgrade like Ratchet and Clank. I want 8 solid guns and like action.
And are you playing in yours? Are you playing as Ratchet and you're playing as Jak?
I think you can choose. I think you both run around together and you can just like swap on the fly.
Interesting. Just a real sort of party action adventure.
Yeah, like buddy cop all the way through, right? Like give me like when in Rift Apart, when Rivet and Ratchet finally meet up, right? Like you only play as one or the other, right? But like give me them meeting up within the first half an hour.
Right.
Give me like Avengers Endgame, Infinity War. Like, everyone's meeting fucking beat after beat after beat, right? Give me like set up, throw them together, push them both forward.
Yep. Right. Okay. Mine's on the opposite scale here. I've got 15 to 20 for the story.
Fuck.
But that's sort of similar to a Zelda style, right? Where a lot of that is like, like an hour and a half in like a dungeon, and there's like 7 dungeons with each a unique mechanic and stuff like that. And then you can go and find the tree island, and then the boss mini game, and all of that stuff. Like that's that's what that's based around. Yeah. I've got an answer for who to present it, but I want to hear yours first.
So I've got 2. So I'll do my joke ones first.
Okay.
Then do yours, and then we'll do my real ones.
Okay.
My joke ones is, and on stage to announce the upcoming film, we have Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart playing Jack and Daxter.
Jeremy, I was trying to think of answers to this question, and Kevin Hart did come into my head, and I'm like, no, stop it.
Because the Borderlands movie thing is the only thing coming to you from Kevin Hart's trailer.
Yeah,
we have the stars of the Jack and Daxter film, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and Kevin Hart.
The Rock's just in his trailer from another movie.
Yeah. He's like still in the Black Adam costume. He like doesn't take it off anymore.
Sam says, thanks, I hate it.
Yeah, the hierarchy of the PlayStation universe is about to change. It's a Black Adam reference for you.
Oh, timely.
It actually is.
Prescient.
Yeah. All right, who you got?
I want to cast the original Daxter as the voice of Daxter in this game, and he can come out and speak normally, and then speak like Daxter, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's Daxter." And then maybe he could demo the game, or introduce the demo to the game, or even just be like, "Here's the trailer." That would be fun.
Okay.
Voice actors who you can't like recognize because, like, you watch Futurama. And you don't, and then you see John DiMaggio on the street. It's not like, look, it's Bender. I could see Bender on the street because, like, John DiMaggio isn't a robot from the year 3000. But if he talks like Bender, they're just gonna be like, "Whoa, that's Bender's voice. That's wild." And I think there's room for that.
Okay, I can see that.
And that's like, here's something that people love from the first one that was iconic to the first series. It's coming back in this one. It is literally right here in front of you.
Just realized your answer is quite nice. My next one is not.
Why not?
Because
what kind of answers were you trying to come up with? You try to tank the reboot before it gets off the ground?
So I'll be honest, I forgot to write the answers for this part of it before we hit live because I thought I wrote it down and I didn't, and I forgot what I was going to write.
So what are you going to say?
I'm going to say Jack Nicholson and Dax Shepard. Jack Nicholson playing Jack and Dax Shepard playing Daxter. Because I think it would be fucking hilarious if they got Jack Nicholson, the 1980s Joker, star of such films as The Shining, One Flew Over the
Cuckoo's Nest,
Terms of Endearment.
This man's 85 years old.
And he's Jack. And Dax Shepard, the closest thing you can get to Zach Braff without it being Zach Braff, playing Daxter. If you Google Dax Shepard, you will see a man that looks so close to Zach Braff, but isn't.
You could just hire Zach Braff.
I could. He's the voice of Chicken Little. He could be Daxter.
Why didn't you do that? Is it because you just wanted a Jack and a Dax? I wonder.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, he does just look like Zach Braff. That is uncanny.
It is bizarre, isn't it? Honestly,
not from every angle, not at all times, but
when he does, does he?
Front on, definitely.
Yeah. That being said, Zach Braff probably a pretty good, Daxter. Honestly, Daxter's annoying. Zach Braff's annoying.
Oh fuck! Why you got to be like that? I could see it. It's a little. It doesn't hit right. It feels off.
I mean, it is off. Could you imagine Jack Nicholson playing Jack?
No.
We gotta get the green eco.
When did the Batman films in the 80s? That was like 85, like 87, right?
Something like that, like 86, yeah.
Jack Nicholson would have been around about 50 when he did those.
Yeah, I think so.
That is an old Joker.
Well, Joker wasn't really... Joker's kind of interesting because he's not really like... He doesn't really have an age. Like,
It's timeless.
Well, but I mean, but like he doesn't, right? Because it's like, you know, Batman kind of has ages, right? Like he is either... Like, you know how old he is because you know how Bruce Wayne is, how old Bruce Wayne is in those movies.
Yep.
Because, so the Joker in the 80s... You haven't seen that movie, have you?
No, I've seen Batman and Batman Returns.
Oh, okay. Well, like in that one, like the Joker has an alter ego, which is different. He doesn't usually...
Shit, does he? I totally forgot that.
Like,
it's been a long time.
Because you see him become the Joker. At the beginning, he's like just like a corrupt business guy.
Right.
And then he falls into the vat and then he becomes Joker. What? He gets Jokerfied.
I didn't realize he was not a Joker by society turning on society. He's a Joker via vat.
Yeah. Kinda, he is. His name's Jack Napier in that movie.
Man.
Like he's got a name and he's like a sleazy business guy. Yeah.
1989 Batman movie.
Right.
So he's 52.
I don't 100% remember where this was going, but yeah.
Jack and Dax.
Well, it was more that, he was quite old in that movie, but that's because you could sort of see how old he was. You know, in the comics, the Joker has always looked basically the same, right? Smiley, like wrinkly, but not age wrinkle. It's always laugh line, so you can't really tell how old he is because he's smiling.
So like the biggest smile lines because he just has the biggest smile.
Yeah. The oldest Joker's probably looked is like the Arkham games, and that's also because he's very sick. That's
because everyone in those games is wrinkly and there's something about those Arkham games. We're totally off track here, but
that's fine.
So there's something about those Arkham games where I just don't like the style.
Really?
I know when I was talking about, was it Gotham Knights last week that I was talking about that, or the week before? I think it was last week.
Well, it probably was last week.
And I was looking at how people were saying, "Oh, Arkham Knight looks better and it's a 7-year-old game," and I just totally disagree. I think I way prefer the style of Gotham Knights compared to Arkham. It doesn't say much with its style, but I prefer it.
Yeah, I don't like the style of Arkham Knight.
It's
Sorry, not
plain.
Arkham Knight, Gotham Knights. Like, because I watched the opening and the final cutscenes, and they all just look so fucking boring to me.
Yeah, it's pretty plain, but the Arkham style is stylized in a way where I feel like they took. You know how when Gears of War came out, Unreal Tournament 3 came out around the same time, and they looked 100% identical because it was like the Unreal Engine is good at making muscly bro dudes and like red concrete, and like that was it.
Mean, I think it's
feel
more
like they just jammed the Arkham games through an Unreal sieve. And that's the style we got. We just got Batman pushed through the Unreal 3 engine.
Well, Unreal 3, like Unreal Tournament and Gears were made by the same studio. Like,
no, I know, but it looks like they were made with the same assets and like it was the same style.
Nah, like
biggest muscly bro dudes you ever seen in your life.
I mean, like they're big and ripped in Arkham, but like, you know, they're also very stylized, you know, like it's not like they don't look like they're the Gears meatheads.
No, that's true. That's why I'm saying it. You know, it's like equal parts Unreal, equal parts Batman. Like it is true to Batman. It is not like they just put like Dom in a Joker costume.
It's speaking of John DiMaggio.
Exactly. But it's halfway between both, and it's a weird middle ground that I've never really enjoyed that much.
Yeah, right. No, I think the Arkham games look great.
Most people do. Anyway, what the fuck are we doing here? Jack and Daxter, right?
Well, I mean, we figured it out.
We did figure it out. Yeah. Let me see. The shooting. Yeah, I've said everything. I've said everything I wrote down. We did it. You can have this one. Sucker Punch.
/ Insomniac if you want it.
/ Respawn Games.
Yeah, not really.
You know, Jeremy, I keep seeing. I'm just in tangent.